Whew. Chilly morning this morning. And quite the day yesterday. So tired yesterday and busy the whole day. I didn't get a chance to do this. But I tried to make my battery was dead and I didn't have an extra battery with me, but I had my 360 camera. And then I actually made a video yesterday, and a Remembrance Day video yesterday on the 360 camera. But the only way to edit those videos is with your phone and the 360 app, not on a computer. And it turns out there's not enough space on my phone to edit it properly. And if I did edit, it would have to be little chunks at a time, and then export it, save it somewhere else, go back in and try to do it again. I'm like, oh gosh, I don't have time for this. But anyway, I might be able to pull a chunk off there. If I do, then you probably would have already watched it on the beginning of this video. But anyway, my huge buck showed up. All my whitetail hunting fanatics out there, hunting fanatics, I'll share them with you. It's quite the buck. And he lived again. He lived all winter. He's definitely prime. He's past his prime, I think. He's a big deer. Easy 300-pound deer, 300 plus if I had to guess. He showed up about 2 miles away from where I was watching him on my cameras last year, and he was hitting my cameras every single night last year. And he just showed up in an unexpected spot. There's a few does hanging out there, pretty consistent, but he came through heading north at about midnight, and then the next day at about 1 o'clock he came back. And then I went in and checked again the next day. I wonder if he's going to be punctual, and he didn't show up again. I'm like, oh no, how many days would I have to sit in one spot and wait for him? Lots of people, that's all they do, is they'll sit all day long every single day for days on end until the buck they want or one shows up. And I'm used to still hunting and stalking and calling and slipping through the forest, but I'm gonna have to teach myself how to sit there every day, I guess. Well, it depends on how bad you want them, right? But it's the wind and my approach, and I have a funny feeling he might be coming into the forest close to where I park my quad, so I have to restudy the whole area, study the wind patterns, and see if I can't hike in there from a different direction and park from a different direction, but it's going to be a big hike just to get in there. And it's tough when right now, in some of those I'd have to go through big willow patches, and the snow is really deep without a trail. It's a real struggle, so we'll see. I'm going to head over there in a bit and see if I can make a plan. Study the wind a little better, try to make a guess where he's going, where he's coming from, and then move my sit and wait spot. What a game. It's such a game. But anyway, here we are. I was up bright and early this morning, went to another spot, fairly open. I found a whole bunch of deer and buck sign in there, and sure enough, there's a great big 4x4 and two does messing around in front of me, but I had forgotten my rattle antlers on the ground. My favorite pair. I've had them for 15 years. And I left them on a stump yesterday after about a 2-hour hike. So I had to go there this morning, and I hunted it properly instead of just hiking in and getting my antlers. And sure enough, there's this big buck and two does between me and where I had to get to, and I didn't want to scare them away, so I ended up sitting there watching them forever, tempting me. At one point, they were 400 yards away, then 200, and then out to 350, and then they came right up to me to 100 yards away. And he's grunting his face off. And then I'm like, okay, that's enough. I have to get up and move. So I put them into a run of terror, and off they went. And then I watched another 2 bull moose and a cow below me for the whole time. And then on the way out, I saw 5 bull elk blew out of a patch of timber in front of me. Always good for a little excitement, cool to see. And that's about it for my report so far. But anyway, I hope everybody's doing well in the world right now. I hope the people that are coming here, I hope you're doing what you love to do when you can. Please, I hope you are. I noticed my duct tape patches, my down-filled jacket is sprouting leaks all over the place. I put these on, they seem to last a little bit, but they tear off too. Now, oh, Sarah, I forgot. Sarah told me to tell everybody there's a sale in her store. I think she's got a sale on all of her decals. In Canada, they're called decals. In the States, called decals. Stickers. I think she's got a sale on those and something else. You're going to have to go check at the howtohuntstore.com. I think there's usually a link to that in the video description below, if you're into it. Well, and I lost my gas cap to my quad, so I got a piece of garbage bag over top of it with a piece of string tied around it. I'm a real prize lately, I'll tell you what. Anyway. Let's see. What do we got? I don't know what we have here. Trail cameras and a story is the title of this email. All right. I'm all over trail cameras. Hi, Steve. I'm a longtime follower. Love what you do. I just want to thank you for sharing your adventures with us, with all of us. Thanks for the kind words, man. I have a question for you, and I may or may not be the only one that wonders this. Why are the animals so curious about the trail cameras? It seems, for the most part, that they all notice the cameras. What I chuckle over is how they will stick their faces right onto the camera. I love it. So while I'm here, I will share one of my incidents that happened to me while deer hunting in Oregon about 7 years ago. My brother and I set up camp on a saddle surrounded by trees. There's a fairly large clearing on the saddle where we pitched our tents. My tent was one of those, what I call a coffin tent, LOL, just large enough to crawl into, and every inch of your body touches the inside of the tent at one point or the other. Oh, I hate those. We had started a campfire to sit by and enjoy while we talked about the morning hunt that was coming up. And around 9:30 p.m., my brother decided to go to bed. So I stayed up for a while longer. And just about half an hour after he went to bed, I started feeling this uneasy feeling, like something or someone was nearby and watching me as I was sitting on a big log by the fire. Shortly after having that feeling, I started getting a different feeling, like it was right by me, but I couldn't see anything, and I didn't hear anything either. I decided to crawl into my tent, which was behind me on the other side of the log. And while I was laying there listening for any type of sound, all I could hear was my brother snoring. And then it happened. Something hit my tent. It was what I could describe as being a pebble. It sounded like the size of a pea or a small marble. Then another one. That one hit my shoulder, where it was touching the tent on the inside. This went on as I counted the number of pebbles hitting my tent, and there were 17 total that I counted that hit my tent. The pebbles weren't thrown hard, just tossed lightly from the sound of them hitting. And all this time, my brother was still sawing logs in his tent. And I had lost that uneasy feeling I was having while I was outside by the fire. Instead, I had a calm come over me while the pebbles were being tossed in my tent. And the next thing I knew, it was time to get up and go hunting. It was like counting sheep and then falling asleep. Well, that's all there is to tell about it. I hope it helps someone else that may have had similar experience. If nothing else, to just let others know we're not alone experiencing these things that happen to us. I have other things that have happened to me over the years while hunting in this area, along with Idaho and Montana. Maybe someday I'll get around to sharing them. I love what you're doing, Steve, and keep up the good work. Stay safe, and I hope you get that big buck while you're up north hunting. It is November 7th, 2025. You can say my name if you want. I'm now 73, and I don't care what others think. Michael Walther. Right on, Michael. Welcome to the land of the free, the world of the free. Free meaning you don't give a shit what anybody thinks. That instantly makes you very, very free. It's a very calming state of life. Trust me. Appreciate that email, man. And thanks for the well wishes, and I'm going to try to get him. I'll try to get him. He is a huge buck. Huge old cagey, gnarly buck. We've got a follow-up from the hog carcass email we had the other day. Coyotes feeding on the hogs. Hi, Steve. Thanks for sharing my experiences in South Louisiana and Mississippi. And in reference to your question about trying to bait coyotes with hog carcasses, I've never seen one coyote feeding on one. But the hog carcasses are always completely dispersed within a couple of months, with only skulls and random small bones ever being found. We always assumed it was coyotes disposing of them, only because they're the largest predatory animals we've caught on trail cameras. And since writing yesterday, I remembered another repeated odd occurrence at the property in Mississippi. On 2 separate years, I remember my friend being really excited about the pear trees we had planted finally about to produce their first large crop of pears. He had a trail camera set on the largest tree, and we also set a bait station for deer in front of this camera to monitor whitetail bucks. And on the last 2 consecutive seasons, I hunted there. The pear tree was completely loaded with fruit, and as soon as the majority turned ripe, the trees were stripped in a single night. And the camera that was on the largest tree loaded with fruit had 1 or 2 pictures that were completely whited out. Then the next pictures were of deer at the bait station, and the tree was bare, with the exception of 2 or 3 under the ripe pears. It never really registered with me as anything other than an anomaly with the camera until watching some of your videos discussing odd things with trail cameras and the Sabe people. Not too bad in your pronunciation of the Atchafalaya, LOL. We have all sorts of French and Native American names here that are easy to butcher. Oh, and there's a link to information. Appreciate it. You recently spoke about your road trip you took from Alabama to Texas and how you passed over a large swamp on an elevated interstate highway. I'm assuming that was I-10 between Baton Rouge and Lafayette, Louisiana. If so, that was the Atchafalaya Basin you were crossing. I also wanted to say I'm grateful to hear you speaking about the current events in the world. We've all jumped on a path in search of truth, and I don't think it's coincidence that all paths seem to be leading to the same crossing when it comes to who's responsible for all the lies we're constantly being told. Keep up the fight, brother. We're on this together. Safe travels from South Louisiana. John, appreciate you, man. Big time. Appreciate that follow-up. Yeah, the trail cameras, I've had some trail cameras also get a faint red glow in the front of them when it records. Others that get a red beeping light. I've noticed deer go like this, like when it comes on. I don't think I've ever seen a wolf or a coyote, canines. I don't think I've ever seen a coyote or a wolf not notice the cameras, ever. I do some trail cameras, when they go off, you can hear a slight click. And I don't know, I've never really been too concerned about it either way. So I haven't really tested or looked into it myself and tested to see which ones make sound and which ones make lights. But that's, for the most part, that's what I have found is the curious aspect of these cameras to wildlife so far. And the hogs and coyotes, yeah, same thing. Alabama, we've shot a lot of them. We're talking thousands. And all I have ever took, because I really caught my attention noticing that I didn't really see any coyotes or anything chewing on the hogs. But the vultures, the buzzards, obviously, they go crazy on them. And the speed at which the birds can take down just the leftover moose carcass is unbelievable. The lungs, the stomach, the shrapnel that's still attached to the bones, they strip it clean. Because we keep tabs on them up north when I'm guiding. We keep tabs on it to see if any wolves hit it. When wolves hit the carcass, they eat everything. They eat ribs. When wolves are really hungry, they eat everything except the teeth. Teeth, hooves. I would be surprised sometimes they ate the hooves. But they eat everything except the teeth and the antlers. Be a chunk of skull left. Just a chunk. But yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why they're not eating those hogs. Weird, right? I wonder if a black bear would... Yeah, black bear eating. I saw a trail camera video of a black bear catching baby hogs one time. So yeah, they eat them. Bears do, but bears will eat anything. Then again, all predators will eat anything. I've had some pretty disgusting baits set out for predators and they eat it. It is odd about those hogs. Very. I appreciate you, man. Big time. Whoops. Mark this next one as red. Hi, Steve. I'm Brian Dickerson, living in Grants Pass, Oregon, U.S., and I'm a U.S. Navy veteran. I mostly fish, hike, and I am a gun owner who likes to shoot with my family and 3 daughters. And here's my latest encounter in October of 2025. My girlfriend and I were driving around at night looking for a good stargazing spot away from city lights. We stopped at a place called Ford Pond, about 5 miles west of Sutherland, Oregon. We'd been there before, but on the other side of the pond. This night, we found a picnic table about 15 feet from the water's edge and spread out a blanket on top of the table. We both laid on our backs to get good shots of the stars and trying to video a shooting star, which we saw 3 before, but never on video. And both times we'd been there, we heard different animal noises. We tried to imitate frog, frog, duck, goose. I didn't think much of it since they are normal at night and by the water. But about 30 minutes into our stargazing the second time, I heard a very loud scream from, I'd guess, about 400 yards to the west of us, which turned into a donkey hee-hawing at the end. I sat up and listened for more, but never heard it again. It was too dark to see anything. And here's where it got my attention. About 5 minutes later, big wings flapped about 10 feet from our head. It startled both of us. But again, too dark to see anything. I told her that it was probably just a goose and go back to videoing. Then, 10 feet into the water straight up from where we were laying, a big grapefruit-sized rock landed in the water with a big kaplunk. I looked over to see the angle it came from and accompanied splash rings. I asked her if she saw that. She asked me, saw what? I told her what I saw and heard, and she said she didn't hear or see anything. It makes sense for the tagged theory since I've had other sightings of these beings around my house. I know what my experiences were. She is still skeptical. Thanks for reading this. I hope it connects to other people's experiences. Let the questions and comments rip. I'm always willing to talk about what else I've seen. I told my dad, my daughter, and current girlfriend about my previous sightings, and I'm always aware when I go in the woods, especially at night. Thanks, Brian. Well, Brian, everybody's going to be screaming, share more. You should have shared them here now. Yeah, we want to hear it all, man. Especially if you've got previous sightings around your house. Yeah. Send it, please. Steve, it's Gramps. Please no public naming. I left out a lot of extra info about my 3 sightings, and I'm willing to talk to you about the extra info I left out with a phone number. Okay, man. Sounds great. I'm guessing you don't want to talk about it in a video. We could, though. We just blacken out your face and have audio only if you want, or not. Or you can just talk to me and I'll relay it. And I appreciate you reaching out with that, big time. There go 2 squirrels fighting behind the camera. Did I mark that as look into? Sorry. Sorry, guys. Hold on a minute. Okay, mark this as look into. Look into. Yeah, I'm looking forward. (1979) incident. Steve, my name is Rick, and I'm 48 years old, and I've worked in corrections for 24 years, and I've always been a straight shooter on the truth. Every story I've told has never been twisted or exaggerated at all. I can't stand people who exaggerate and twist the truth. I've been watching your channel for about a year now, and I appreciate what you're doing. It takes guts. I grew up in a military family, and at the time of my incident, we lived in military housing just off the base. I now live in southwestern Oregon, But at the time in '79, I lived in Massachusetts. Behind the military housing where I lived was a whole lot of woods. I've never seen anyone go back there except me and some of the other kids I played with. And I was 8 at the time, and I told my neighbor friend, who was about the same age, to get his bike so we could go to our spot in the woods, which was a trailhead that led into the woods. Just a 5-minute bike ride down the dirt road. I took off a minute or two before him. I arrived at the trailhead and set my bike down and began walking up the trail, which went up a small hill and down into the dark forest. I like to practice being stealthy when I walked in the woods so I don't scare animals, because I like to see them. Well, as I walked quietly up the beginning of the trail, a Bigfoot was walking the same trail in the opposite direction, coming towards me from the forest. We damn near ran into each other, I shit you not. We were both walking up towards the top of the small hill, so we didn't see each other until we both crested the hill. Then we were visible to each other. I never heard it coming. It was silent. And as soon as we saw each other, we both stopped walking and froze facing each other. We were about 10 to 15 feet apart. And this thing was walking just as smooth as a man, except it was huge, and I mean massive. It was the classic Bigfoot build, 8 to 10 feet tall, covered in dark fur and huge shoulder width, and an extremely powerful build. No humans built like that. Bigfoot was the only damn thing it could have been. It never made a noise, and I sensed that it was just as surprised as I was, and it felt like, oh shit, I've been seen. What do I do? I sensed intelligence as well. After seeing this, which is about 1 second, I immediately took off back towards my bike and saw my friend pulling up on his bike. I was so scared. I screamed, "Go, go, go now." I took off back home faster than I've ever ridden a bike. I could have beat Lance Armstrong, no problem. I didn't make out facial features on this creature because I was coming up a sunny road into the dark forest looking at dark hair-covered creature, and my eyes hadn't quite adjusted yet, but there was absolutely no doubt it was a Bigfoot. I was literally 10 to 12 feet from it. Also, in about 2012 here in Oregon, I drove deep into the woods to visit Bolin Lake by myself one day. It was off-season, so nobody around, and that's where I experienced wood knocking for the first time. So, one must have been eyeing me. Thanks for all you do, Steve. These things are real. Very interesting to say the least. I'd rather keep my full name out. Gotcha, man. Sounds a little familiar, but I think we've got a few people have that same scenario happen. Going up the trail, boom, face to face. Had people run into him, boom, bounced off it like it was a chunk of iron, was one description. What's this? Don't know if this has been... All right, let's get into it, because he wants to phone call. It says he wants to be called at the end, I think. Hold on a minute. The story nobody believes. The Kill Team. Hey, Steve, thanks for what you're doing. I'll try to keep this short, but there are a lot of details, and try to make it easy to read. I had a friend living with me and my mother at the time, a former Marine. We decided to get up one morning and go track for some deer. It was still chilly outside around fall and during the rut. And while we were out, we found a bare humanoid footprint. It was around 12 inches long. It had a flat foot. I looked at my friend and said, "Who's been walking around here when it's been this cold barefoot?" We both looked at each other for a minute and started moving on. We started following the tracks and started looking for a piece of wood to put into our aquarium for a snake. When I came up to the rather large piece of what I thought was wood and said to my friend, "Hey, this looks like a turd." Well, it was. It was about 2 feet long and about 4 inches in thickness. How's that for some relief? There was white-tailed deer hair, small bits of bones, plant fibers, and seeds from various berries. We ended up going to a different location that was still in the area. We came to an area where people would go to drink and have fun with a bonfire in an old tent. The tent had been ripped almost to pieces. Quite a few yards away from the area, there was an old tree stump that we found that had a flat top. On it was a small pile of little rocks. One bigger rock. and the broken shells from walnuts. And as we were looking at this, a white-tailed doe came walking out of the thicket. She literally came walking right up to us. Almost within touching distance, we were amazed and thrilled. Just then we heard rustling in the thicket. It was something moving off, and we thought it was her buck. So we backed off and moved around to try to see if we could see this buck. We ended up on a higher embankment where a chain-link fence ran across. It was part of a company's property. I took the lead because I'm more experienced in the field in that area, and I am a tracker, as I was taught by First Nations people. And Cherokee Chief blood runs through my veins. I'm a stalking bow hunter. I came to a patch of cattails that I could look down into, and as I looked, I could see a dark figure moving in the cattails. I crept closer and then stood straight up to look in, and there, sitting, was a male Sasquatch eating a cattail. My friend made a noise behind me because, as you know, moving through the bush, you cannot stay directly behind each other unless you want a branch to fly and hit you. And the Sasquatch then looked in my direction. At around 20 yards, we made eye contact. His face went to a look of anger and disgust. He then got up, pushed his way through the cattails, and hid behind a tree. My friend came up and said, "Was that a buck?" I said, "No, didn't you see it?" We then presented our hands open and palm up to show we were not armed. And I have known of these beings my entire life. My first encounter was when I was 9 years old in Florida, and I witnessed a group building a very large teepee structure? No way, that's a first. Back to the point. You know we want to hear about that, right? He then looked at his own hand and then back at us to the area behind him, to the thicket, and then ran off. Each step had to have been at least 15 feet. The speed was ridiculous. And yes, it was a male. I saw him in all of his glory. I was close enough that I was able to see the blood veins in the forearms and the muscles moving under the hair. No shit, that's the first time I've ever heard of the veins being seen like a ripped human. The arms. Even the welts that were on the upper back. And to know that they are not just an animal, they have a humanoid face with a hooded nose. We made our way around and down to where the cattail bed was when my friend asked me if we wanted to follow, and I said no. And just then we heard splashing as it was running through the canal. The canal had to have at least 3 feet of mud in it, and 8 feet tall steel walls that if a human got in would need help getting out. He climbed right out, which we later found out when we followed the main trail that brought us back up to the Y in the old road through the area. We then heard a very loud yell, and then speech and language that we could not understand. And just as I had told my friend, "You mean they can talk?" he yelled the word "go" to us, which means they are capable of understanding English. Wow. A couple days later, I was woken up to my friend standing over me with a bucket and standing over me with a bucket and a fistful of hair. With his eyes bugging out of his head and covered with sweat, he said, I did it. His story is that he smoked it in the head with a large rock and then took that hair and sent it off to someone after getting on the computer. What? Around a week later, he calls me upstairs and says, I got to see this. As we look out our back roof balcony during the thunderstorm, and we could see multiple people in the woods with lights on them, fully automatic gunfire, the sound of men screaming and the unmistakable sound of Sasquatch screaming. I said, who did you send that to? They're down there killing them. No answer. I knew my friend had connections and very high in the military. Then a helicopter came in with no lights except for one purple spotlight. A cable was lowered and a very large sack was taken away. I know of many stories from the areas, and after that happened, people are even starting to be found in the woods dead. I myself have found a couple dead bodies along with a 3-foot-long femur. The families were told of suicides and overdoses. I don't know of anyone that can snap their own neck so that they're looking at their own ass. or beat themselves to death laying under a large log. These beings know revenge, and these beings know of revenge and hate and love. I've had so many encounters that I've lost count. And not because I was looking for them, it just happens when you're in the right place at the right time with the right circumstances, and in the area habitually, daily. My friend and I have seen them so many times. Fight, mate, foraging, bedding, hunting, stalking, hiding, and no, I haven't seen cloaking invisibility. I've seen girls screaming out of the woods, yelling, "There's a monster," and I say, "I know, stay out of there." I've gotten to the point where I know where they are, and I have shown 3 people them. And those 3 people are now dead from suicide, drug overdose, or alcoholism because they cannot handle it. I don't understand the secrecy of these beings and why the governments are so hell-bent on hiding them. They exist just like us and everything else on this planet. The truth is the truth. No one has the right to hide it. No one. I'd really like a chance to speak with you. Chad Carter, Northwest Ohio. Chad, you know what? There's a lot of people that aren't going to believe a word you said. I'm not saying that to be a dick. I'm just saying. Because there's nothing in there that fits any patterns out of the tens of thousands of emails that we've had here. Those are some... I'm just going to say it. Those are some bold, crazy-ass statements, man. I found 3 people, one with his neck split, face in his butt, beat with a log on top of a helicopter, people shooting, men screaming, Sasquatch screaming. You've seen them do everything under the sun that humans seen. You are a first and only, just so you know. And that's what's going to make that story hard to swallow for a lot of people, right? But who knows? I wasn't there. And I am not the guy to tell anybody what to take as fact or not, unless it's firsthand for me. I'll tell you it's fact. So take from it what you will, you guys. But if you're still here watching, send us a little more. Did you take any pictures? Do you still see them? What are the descriptions? If the military came once, they should have came again. I imagine if a group of guys entered the forest intent on killing one of these beings, and they went in on foot just like that, and got up on them and shot one, made a scream. Well, then those same guys could easily just walk in the forest and shoot every single one of them, don't you think? If I'm going by what you've shared with your email. Anyway, rarely do I ever question the validity myself. It's like I read the emails, and each one of us has to decide whether or not there's something in there for you or not, and discard it, kick it to the curb, or learn something from it. So there you go. We'll leave it at that. Interesting story. Some very, very bold statements there that we just don't get here. You know what I mean? Anyway. See if anything else comes from that. Witness. Now, I guess I better get my butt in gear. I was trying to wait until the afternoon for this wind to change direction for me so I can climb up the side of this mountain and try to start putting this puzzle together for this huge buck. It's such a game. It's a very, very, very hard game to find one specific deer surrounded by hundreds of miles of forests, jungle, mountains, and try to find him again, and then even harvest him. It's so hard. I've been doing that all my life, though. I love it. And the feeling you get of accomplishment is right off the chart. I can't even describe it. It's like you can fly. I don't know. We'll see. I got to go start putting this puzzle together. And you know, a lot of people, especially in the States where most land's private, I mean, people got private food plots. They grow the food specifically for deer. They clear out an area in the forest. They keep baiting it, and they put water there for them. It's just like basically raising your cattle and shooting them when they come into the field, right? And I'm not being insulting. It's just, you see the way I hunt and what I grew up hunting. It's 2 different worlds. You do what you have. You do with what you have, right? I mean, it'd be so easy. Compared to this, it'd be so easy. Private property, nobody can hunt there. Throw out the bait, raise them, and sit in the pillbox and wait on a timer. Not here. big, huge pack of wolves came right down the throat where all the game hangs, spun things around. Another time, I had a buck, one time, as an example, I had a buck here, hit my camera in the springtime. Huge freaking buck. And then a friend of mine got a picture of it in the back of their quarter section, 15 miles away. 15 miles away in January. So you see what you're up against when you're running after deer around this country. They're not making your private little lot home base. These guys are going randomly 15 miles. So it's like, it's kind of funny. It weighs on your brain when you're sitting there waiting and you're thinking he's probably 10 miles away. I'm wasting my time. But he might be here in 10 minutes, right? Listen to me thinking out loud, sound like a psychopath. There's definitely not as many animals, deer here, as there has been in the past. I don't know what's up, because all the oil field construction out here, is it the wolves? One of them is not from humans. Humans aren't good enough. You can't, look at this terrain. Humans cannot kill off the deer here. It's just not going to happen. They're going somewhere. Some of the spots I had were just like it was a zoo. So many deer running around one certain area, and then this year, nothing. 2 deer. 2. And then, but it seems like the party has moved up the mountain. You know, there's a deer party going on up here, and they shuffle over here and shuffle over there, meaning miles and miles in between. And you got to go around, sweat it up, and hike and hike and hike and look and look and look and read the sign and figure it out. Guess where you should be set up. I'm babbling. Sorry. I better get my button gear and get after it. I'll keep you posted on my my progress. Share my story at howtohunt.com. That's the email address. And Sarah's got a sale on her store. Sale on decals and something else, I believe. Something. You have to go there and check it out. I'm going to be in trouble. She goes, make sure you tell everybody. Okay. My brain is like tunnel vision on this huge buck. Wish me luck. I'll be back. Hopefully tomorrow.